So steps can be designed to be in sequence or in parallel. Now, the first type of step that we will talk about is an action step. An action step allows either the assignee to update the transaction or it can trigger a subprocess. Okay, now what is a subprocess? You may want to note it down. What is a subprocess? A subprocess is another business process that is triggered from one main business process. You did that as part of your assignment 3. Do you remember? What was the business process you triggered from the higher business process? When you did the compensation assignment. The proposed compensation higher, yes. So if I talk on the perspective of the higher business process, then the proposed compensation higher is a subprocess because the higher process triggered that particular business process. Okay, and in that business process there can be some other steps in the proposed compensation business process. Okay, so if I trigger another process from within a business process, we call that as a subprocess. Okay, so an action step is used to update the transaction. For example, when you did the proposed compensation higher right, what all did you do? You made sure that the compensation package was there right, the allowance plan salary was there, the compensation grade was selected right. You ensure that all of this happened, and then you went ahead and assigned a salary. Isn't it? We entered a salary information in that particular action in the action step. So Logan McNeil had that action step. She went ahead and assigned something in the salary component. So what did we do? We actually enriched or updated that transaction right. So if you want to do that, then it will be an action kind of step right. Where we are updating or enriching the transaction. Now contrast that with an approval kind of step. An approval step. In an approval step, you view the information but you cannot change it. I mean the approver cannot change it. Okay, think about this. Let's say you have applied for a leave for the 15th of April, or may not be the 15th, maybe 15th, the 18th of April, right? You have applied for a leave and your manager looks at it, changes the date to 18th of May, and then approves it. Is it possible? Your manager changes the date by himself or herself and then approves it. What can the manager do? Let's say you applied for a leave on 18th of April, so what can the manager do? What are the options he or she has? He can approve, he can reject, decline, yes, absolutely. So he can send it back for revision. So he might say that, yeah, we have some other important work going on. So April 18th may not be possible. Why don't you take the next week off? Maybe the 25th, right? So he might ask you for a revision. So he might approve it. He or she might think that yeah, 18th is fine. There is no impact. I'm fine. 18th, you are approved. Or he or she might outright reject it, saying no, we are not going to apply any leaves now. There are many other people who have already applied. I cannot grant leave to you cancelled. Or the manager may reconsider it and the manager might come up and say, okay, I might not do it on the 18th, but you are fine to take the leave on another day. So whoever has the approval task can basically do 3 steps. 1. They can approve, they can deny, or they can send back for revision. But they cannot change the data. That's the underlying thing. They cannot change the data and approve. Right, we all understand that, we all agree to that. So the approval step is like that. The approval step will allow the assignee to view the information, but they cannot change it. They can approve, they can deny, or they can send it back for revision. Okay, now, very similar thing is the approval chain. The approval chain is a type of task that we can use to configure approvals that travel up the organization hierarchy. Let's say you need 2 levels of approvals. Okay, 2 levels of approvals are needed. Then what can you do? You might create 2 approval tasks, right? Approval by manager. Approval by manager's manager. Or you can make it 1 step and use the task type as approval chain. In that way, what happens after the first line manager or first line approver approves it? It automatically creates a task for the second level manager's manager, for example. Okay. So approval chains are in that way they're a very smart way of getting multiple approvals in the same for the same task. Now how much further in the hierarchy will it keep going? Manager, manager's manager, manager's manager's manager, and so on. Will it keep going up the hierarchy? It will unless you define a stopping point. Okay. It will keep going up the hierarchy unless you define a stopping point. And you will say an exit criteria. Okay, let's say 2 levels of approvals. Manager, manager's manager. That's all. 2 levels and then you are done. You might go for 3 levels, and so on. And so if 3 levels exist, it will get 3 levels. If it doesn't exist, it will get only 2 levels. Got it. So we can use that for the hierarchy for getting multiple levels of approvals. That is an approval chain. Now let's say, first level approves, second level rejects. Then what happens? Is it still considered to be an approval? Or is it a deny? First level approves. Second level denies. It will be denied, right? If the second level denies, yes, it is a deny. The moment you have a deny, that means it is the end of the story, end of the process. Okay. The business process is complete. The status is. The status is marked as completed. The business process ends. There will be no further step in the business process. The moment somebody denies a business process, okay. Again, important point to note. If somebody denies a business process, it is the end of the story. Business process will immediately complete with the status of denied, okay. No further, no more questions, no more discussion. Okay. So in that case, what happens is if, for some reason, the manager is not okay or the approver is not okay to approve, then what we recommend them to do is please send it back for revision if you want it to be changed. If you do not agree, yes, that's a different story. You can get it cancelled. But if you want it to be changed, then send it back for revision. Do not reject it. Do not deny it, okay? Alright. Then we have another type of task, that is, consolidated approval. Now, what does this do? A consolidated approval allows you to combine multiple sub-process approvals into a single step. Okay. So this actually is aimed at efficiency. It's actually useful for making the process very efficient. Now let's take an example for that. So let's say that you are doing the hire process, right? And in the hire process, the step A is always initiation, right? Let's say B may be an action step. That says review by HR partner, right? And then step C is an approval. By manager, okay. Step D is an action. Propose compensation hire. Who is going to do it? Propose compensation hire. Let's say the compensation partner, right? Let's say the compensation partner is going to do it. And within the proposed compensation hire business process within this. This is also a business process. So, as a sub-process within this proposed compensation business process, you have two steps. One is initiation, okay. And B is approval by manager. Manager's manager. Or maybe just the manager, right? Just the manager needs to approve the compensation. And then you come out of this process. You go to step E, you go to onboarding.